Welcome to the... You fucking interrupted me.
John's under the table.
Welcome to the Water Closet Podcast. We've got Alexis with us this week. John couldn't make it, so it's just the two of us. Yeah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Alexis.
So we've got a couple of things to talk about. I used to play for Alexis. He was the manager of a team called Pimsbrook.
Legend.
Yep, it was a legendary Sunday League team. Just point out.
Oh, yeah.
And we obviously wanted to talk about, as a lot of the subjects on the podcast are about mental health. Alexis actually suffers from, suffers the right word?
Yeah, cool.
Suffers from multiple sclerosis, or MS as it's known. So we wanted to kind of go into that and how it all kind of combines, because obviously the sports and the gym and the diet will come into play with that as well.
And don't worry, Giuseppe and Aaron aren't here. You might actually get some sense.
I'm going to have to cut that out now.
No, you don't have to cut that out. Right. Because we can talk about, obviously, the thing about weed, because obviously people with multiple sclerosis are prescribed cannabis.
Oh, I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, so you could bring that up, because I know Aaron said it in one of your last podcasts.
He says it's used for medical purposes.
Yeah,
but...
so obviously that makes it alright for him to puff away and kill his brain cells.
So do you use it for...
No.
Just checking. So obviously I don't know too much about it. I've done a little bit of research into it.
All of 30 seconds research.
No. I've listened to a podcast. I've read about it. Read a few different blogs. So I know that obviously there's different strands of it. They produce different symptoms, and they can be...
Well, you'd probably say it's not about different symptoms, it's harsher.
Okay.
People can suffer more than others.
But they can be inconsistent, right?
Well, yes, I mean, it's like... I've... myself, I was diagnosed in... Well, I was actually diagnosed in 2009, but I didn't find out for 3 years.
I was going to say that. So when I was reading through the blogs, a lot of them didn't actually find out till they're a lot older in life.
Yeah, but this is different, because I don't know, because obviously you wanted to talk about mental health as well.
Yeah.
And obviously this has played a big part in my state of mind and all that stuff. But the first time anything happened to me was 2005. I was working for a well-known bank. We're not allowed to say any names, are we?
No.
And
I mean, you can, but you won't be able to work for them again.
I might as well say it now, but I was working for a bank and I had like pins and needles in my legs, and it was permanent. So you can imagine that, it's like this fuzzy feeling in your legs.
Yeah.
You don't think anything of it, you just think you've got pins and needles. So you walk around trying to get rid of it. But it persisted for like a month. So I thought, okay, that's not normal.
No.
And in the end, I thought I better go to the hospital. Told them, didn't think anything of it. I was at Barnet General and did all these tests and what have you. And then I just remember the neurologist came into the room and said, can only be one of two things. And one of them was multiple sclerosis, and I, for the life of me, still don't remember what the other thing was. And from there I used to see him like every 6 months, but I think I sort of like kidding myself and told myself it wasn't MS.
Sure.
I'm sure I was convinced. It's very difficult for me to remember exactly what I say is real or not.
So, like when you, chose to ignore it or try to convince yourself otherwise, did you try anything to change your life, change diet or...
No, not at all. I think, definitely for the first couple of years, I just didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
I just chose to ignore it, because the only experience I had of MS was a friend of the family's who died of MS or complications from MS, and all I remember him is in a wheelchair.
Sure.
Getting worse and worse every time I saw him. So you try and block it out.
Yes, cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
And you mentioned CBT to me.
Yeah, well, that's another story coming up later on, because that's something else. But I just thought I didn't do anything. Kept seeing the specialist, and I remember, again, I'm not going to mention no names because unprofessional to do so, but the person was unprofessional in themselves.
Sure.
He basically was telling me it was most likely to be MS, and then he answered his telephone. I was with my dad, and he answered his telephone in the appointment, started talking about football. Just as he told me, it's probably MS. He didn't use the word probably, obviously he would have said something else. He basically said, he's just basically answered the phone and started talking about Chelsea. That's all I remember. Just remember my dad's face was going bright red. I thought, you got to be kidding me, right? But anyways, as time went on after that, I still sort of like kidding myself I didn't have it. And because my sister worked for a hospital, she got me an appointment with one of the leading neurologists in a hospital in London. And when I went there, he spoke to me as if I knew.
Did you, I don't know, when he was telling you, and obviously you took the call about football, did it make you think, oh, maybe it's not actually anything to worry about?
No, it wasn't that. Because if it was MS, I knew I had to be worried.
Yeah.
Because of all I knew about it.
Sure.
But even from that moment, I don't know. I still don't know now. When I said about that going to the specialist at the hospital in London, and he said to me, well, it is MS, don't you know? I still don't know whether it's me playing tricks to myself.
Yeah.
That maybe I did know. I just didn't accept it. But I tell that story to everyone I always meet. It's always the line, oh, I've got MS.
Yeah.
Oh, you couldn't believe it. The specialist and the doctor told each other, but not me, that I was diagnosed. I don't know how true that is anymore.
I do vaguely remember you telling me on the way to a football game, actually. But I didn't really take it seriously. I mean, 20-year-old kid just...
Well, yeah, because you don't... You see...
Goes over your head.
You see what's in front of you, don't you?
Yeah.
And even now, I mean, I'm one of the lucky ones. I will consider myself quite lucky because now I've started to try and confront MS. I started going to this group, and I see how it affects other people, and I can only say that I'm lucky.
What happens at the group?
Surrounded with people in wheelchairs, people who can't talk, people who can't walk.
So do you talk to them? What's the objective of the meeting, I guess?
It's just a gathering of people who have this terrible disease.
Just for support.
Yeah. So it definitely helped, but it's taken me. Well, that's looking at 14 years to confront it. So I just didn't really want to deal with it. I'd go to the appointments, and like obviously my parents and various different people I was with relationships along the way would take more interest in it than me.
Yeah.
And it's taken me to go and see other people who've got the problem to take an interest, because that's my kind of personality. I sort of like want to help other people rather than myself. And it's been an interesting 2019, and confronting it obviously it's been a big thing for me. But I see you wrote down there
the strands. I don't know what the terminology is for
different levels of MS. There's 4 different levels. You've got relapsing, remitting, secondary, progressive, primary progressive, and then progressive relapsing. I'm lucky. I say lucky. It's crazy to sound that, because it's like winning the lottery getting MS.
Yeah.
It's a mixture of 2 bad genes from your parents. Like, just you think how many genes you've got in your body.
Of course, yeah.
I've got relapsing remitting, so I've been very lucky. I'm on a medication, have been for some time now. I can't remember how many years. And I've had one major episode, in 7 years.
What does an episode entail?
It's like when something goes numb.
Right, okay. So like you had the pins and needles in your legs?
Yeah, the worst one I ever had was it started in my little finger, and it made its way up my arm, getting worse and worse, and then all over the back.
So I did actually read about this a little bit, and somebody thought they had a trapped nerve for a long, long time.
Yeah, it can be mistaken for that, but obviously this is something that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Unless you treat it. And that particular time was treated with steroids, intravenous steroids, and everything went back to normal. But the problem, what actually happens in your body with MS is, and it's funny, we can go back to this on mental health later on, because I see myself, and it's funny talking to you about this, because you're this little shit that used to play football. But I've always sort of like seen myself as having a split personality.
Right.
There's 2 sides of me. There's me I used to know, the caring, do anything for anyone, there for my friends, there for my family. And then there's MS, the other side.
Sure.
The bit that controls the, go on, you do that. Who cares? Fuck it. You might die. So
yeah.
You might die in pain or whatever. So just do it. Do it. And hence why I've had loads of other problems, loads of other addictions, which again I'm dealing with now. It's taken a long time to come round. But yeah, I saw it like a split personality thing, and I find comfort in that MS side because it never left me. It's always there.
Yeah.
Whereas on the other sides, you can have good times, enjoy it, but they come and go. But this side is always on the other side saying to me, you stick with me. And fighting that this year head on is it can be a nightmare.
So what what have you done this year to kind of fight it? You mentioned you was going to the group.
Well, obviously I'll never badmouth anyone. It's been in my life, but I came out of a long relationship at the end of last year.
Yep.
And I've also looked at that in another way as well, because I've realised living with me and what I just told you about the split personality must be very difficult to live with someone like that, and to also have that fear of what happens if you're in a partnership with someone and you grow old and that person gets sick and you have to look after them.
So do you, I know you're saying it's split, and obviously thinking two different ways is completely different to kind of behaving in two different ways. Mm. Did you find that your kind of personality was split at home? Because I don't think I ever noticed anything different.
No, you wouldn't have, because you would have seen
the manager.
The other side, yeah.
Manager.
You would have seen. You would as well. Funny, actually, it's quite interesting you say that, because you would have seen the MS side, a lot of it.
Maybe, just didn't really.
Yeah.
I just know you.
You didn't know I was depressed or struggling.
Not really, and I have to say, and I've said this in previous podcasts, if someone had said to me they were depressed when I was 20, 21, I would have just been like, shut up, grow up, go to the gym, stop eating shit fast food and stuff like that.
I remember you coming out with silly comments like that.
Yeah. No, I definitely would have. And then since I went through major depression, literally standing on the side of train lines, I just started recognising it in so many other people. Like, I could literally just walk down the road and feel vibes from someone else just walking past me that they're not happy. And that's where I started to find, hey, there's other people to relate to.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I sort of developed what I believed. Again, I'm not sure how much of it's real. Yeah. Because I've sort of lived in a bit of a fantasy world for so many years. And I'm talking about 25 plus years I've been like this. Yeah. I sort of felt like I gravitated towards people that had issues.
I think I'm probably the same, actually, when I was down.
Especially when it came to members of the opposite sex. I'd always attract the same kind of woman who's had problems.
Well, there's a phrase, misery loves company.
Yeah, that's very true. It is very true. And, it's very difficult to... Yeah, do you know, it's hard, it is. It's really difficult.
It's hard to talk about as well, even trying to describe it to somebody else.
One thing that I have definitely noticed in the last, probably since it got really bad for me, in the last 5 years, I'd say.
Okay, so I was
really bad.
I was playing for you 5 years ago.
It's probably just after that period, around about 2015, when things got really bad in my head for various different reasons.
You're going to blame my penalty miss, aren't you?
Well, that was one thing. To be fair, that actually did depress me quite a bit.
I can imagine.
Seriously,
we'll go on to that a bit later.
Crushed me, yeah. But I have to admit, I don't know whether it's because of who I am, but all the friends I have, who are classed as my good friends, one of which is not you, Ricky. But
thanks.
But no, in all honesty, my closest and longest friends, they're all depressed. Yeah. Everyone I know is depressed. Everybody. Whether it be home life, whether it be work, whether it be they're thinking they're not going where they wanted to go in their life. everybody I know.
Yeah.
And you start to, like you said, you start to look around and you start to realise that most people are depressed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's, I haven't done the research, so I don't want to sound like an idiot, but I'm pretty sure there's a high percentage of people that are using antidepressants or those kind of anxiety tablets.
Yeah, I don't want to chalk too many statistics out, but the States is above 60%.
Yeah,
and
it's probably more than that.
Probably. But the male population is in the highest level of suicides ever recorded. I mean, I don't know how many records of suicides they've done throughout the ages, but and the women in the States are fully on antidepressants as well, and the men are killing themselves, and we're not too far off of them really, as we're all Westerners at the end of the day.
Things are hard. I think things are difficult, and it's like going back to what I was saying about how I've confronted it this year. It's taken me countless years of beating myself down and not dealing with it head on.
Yeah.
And actually saying that's enough. And again, about the breakup of my relationship, it's definitely the best for both of us. And there's no animosity there at all. Because
sometimes these like small traumas, and I'm not sure if that's the right terminology for that, but small changes in your life or big changes, whatever, they just kind of take you down a different path and you kind of find a better yourself.
Yeah, well, without a shadow of a doubt, because it makes you reassess everything.
Yeah.
And where you thought you were going, you're no longer going, so you have to create something else.
Yeah.
And if you get past that initial shock at the beginning, because regardless, even if you're with someone you can't stand, and I'm not saying that was me,
yeah,
but even if you're with someone who you know makes your life a misery, in that period of breaking up, or separating, or starting again, as you want to call it, it's hard. And you will feel like you need to gravitate back towards what you know. And that's why people end up staying together for years and years when they're unhappy.
This did actually happen to me. So I had a group of friends, my cousin being one of them, and John being one of them actually. And we went to Tenerife. We weren't really on good terms before we went, but when we went out there, a few comments were made. I wasn't really liked before we went out there by the group, but we're talking about my best mates here, the people I used to go out with on a weekly basis. And I realised these aren't the kind of people that I really want to be hanging out with. They're not on my level of my scope of how I see the world. But like you said, they were my comfort. So I still went back to them.
That's a little bit different because that's part of growing up. I mean, I'm a bit older than you.
Maybe.
You do, people come and go.
Yeah, but it's still the kind of comfort you don't want to let go of that comfort because you don't know what else. Maybe that's the growing up
part. Because as you get older, I mean, how old are you now?
25.
You're still 25. In the next, it might not happen. Like, you can never be ignorant or stupid to say that these things are definite, but it's highly likely as you grow older, you meet someone, you have your own family, you will lose touch with people.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, because you're getting older.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still think if they had put up with me, because I was in a real depressive state at this point and I was making tasteless jokes, that's what kind of ended the whole relationship of me hanging out with them, really. Mm-hmm. And it was only because John and I sat down, had a really long conversation and kind of went, we're going to have to go separate ways, but let's keep in touch. And then we kind of grew. Yeah,
that's when you find out who your real friends are.
Sure.
Because I mean, I still know pretty much all of my best friends I've known since I was 6.
Yeah.
But that's very rare. It's a very rare thing, but that's because of who I am and we have good bonds between us.
Yeah.
I tend to find that when someone becomes my friend, they stay my friend. But people have come and gone. It's funny you say so. Last night I met up with a friend I haven't seen for about 4 years, who is with someone who I think he should move away from.
Yeah.
He needs to move on, but it's easier said than done. And I know that because I've been there myself.
Yeah.
But it's all interlinked with mental health. But do you? I mean, sometimes I wonder to myself: is now there's more you have more media coverage, social media, a lot more awareness of mental health. Does it just appear worse because we're now talking about it, or has it always been there?
I think
we can't answer that because we're not old enough.
No, well, we're not. But I have to say, if you look at pictures of these places they call kind of third world, the families that are together, that love each other and do things for each other, they're a lot happier than the families we have here, for sure.
See, I think that's a 25-year-old speaking.
No, definitely
and I'm
not.
38. I don't think you can make.
I mean, I've been there. I've travelled a fair bit.
Yeah, but you haven't seen the whole world.
I haven't seen the whole world. No, definitely not. But yeah. I can.
That is a mid-20s guy talking, because look, the thing is, right, we all complain, and you know how that old saying about how every generation complains about the last one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 38 and I complain about the youngsters now. No respect, they're worse. We weren't like that. That's what our parents said about us. But it generally, I think it is generally worse. But it's because we see it more.
Do you think? Did you blame the generation before you?
No, but this is what I was getting.
But today you do.
Let me say this before I forget. But I actually, working where I work, I see it all the time. Youngsters with no respect doing what they do. But I do think my generation and people a little bit older than me have ruined the world for the generation that's living now. And where I work, sometimes I get angry with it.
Yeah.
But I generally do think they are growing up in a very, very, excuse the language, but a pretty fucked up world.
Yeah, it is.
And that is, you can never argue that that's all been brought on by what's gone before. So therefore I can understand why there's anger, and you hear about at the moment all this knife crime and that. This is happening because of what's gone before. But it's also used as an excuse.
I think one thing people... I agree with that. I just think we're all living on top of each other as well, and we're not supposed to be like that. Like, if you look at humans originally, we were tribes people. We knew everybody who we were walking with. You walk down London, you don't know anyone, and that is social anxiety.
Well, it's just like what they say, we've opened up the world with social media and you can see everything anytime, but we've closed the door on society that's in front of us.
But you don't know what's happening, because you're only shown what people want you to see. And that's one of the biggest things with Facebook, is people post pictures of their holiday. Oh, their life must be fantastic, but you don't know what arguments have happened on their holiday, why they've gone on holiday, things like that.
You're still on now, aren't you, Facebook?
I am, but
I've been off it for... That was part of re-changing things for me.
Yeah. And if I actually wrote on my Facebook, I'm getting rid of Facebook, guys. If you want to contact me, here's my number. But then I looked through and I had all my Australian friends that I'd met, and they're there for me to contact if I need to.
Are you?
In
all likelihood, are you really going to do it?
Yeah, definitely. When I travel to Australia, I'll definitely post out there and message him. Well, of course.
Yeah, but I don't know. I was the same.
Because that's what contact building is.
I had so many people on Facebook that I've known throughout the years, and I've just come off it cold turkey, because I didn't even like the thing anyway. I'm not that kind of interested in that kind of nonsense. But I come off it and I don't care, because it's irrelevant. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
I would prefer to live my life, and if I bump into someone I haven't seen for 15 years, it'd be like, oh wow, what have you been up to, rather than, I know what you've been up to because I've seen the pictures.
Yeah.
I have nothing to talk to you about because you bore me. Whereas you can have that conversation.
And
what have you been up to?
That is a big thing with, I actually mentioned that in my prologue of the podcast, is we use these social medias to replace conversations. But whenever I speak to my friends, I'll see something, or I'll message them and they'll be like, hey, but Rick, you didn't ask about this. And I'm like, well, when we meet up, we can talk about it, but I'm not going to message you over about it. I've never really been in fact, even when I meet girls, one of the first things I tell them is, I'm not going to be texting you all the time. I just don't text. Like, I will message you something important, like, here are the details, we're going to meet up at this time. But I'm not going to be having a text conversation with you all day.
That's why Ricky's single.
Maybe. Because the girls today, they aren't like that. There's not many that are like that. And they'll agree with you at first if they like you. And they'll go, oh yeah, that's cool, that's fine, we'll do a phone call every evening.
Before we carry on, that's actually brought something up in my head. I spoke to you about it before. The good side of social media.
There is a good side.
Remember I told you about that girl, it was on the news recently on the One show. I'm allowed to say that. And I don't really care because it's for a good cause. There's a young girl called Ismay who has leukemia.
Yeah.
And she had the treatment and it came back within 12 months, and due to NHS rules and guidelines she cannot be treated again, so they have to raise the money themselves. I myself have donated as well. You can put the link on the bottom of this, can't you? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I can do, yeah.
Yeah, so go there because they're trying to get 400,000 and they've just hit 300,000. And this is for a good cause, and so showing the good side of social media. But I just thought I'd put it in there.
Yeah, no, there are definitely good sides, but even like what I was saying, not as honourable as that. But having the contact around the world to contact and say, hey, look, I've just turned up in Germany. Can I stay at yours for the night or whatever?
See, why do you need Facebook for that? What about phone numbers?
Well, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
But
you know what I mean?
phone numbers change so often.
Yeah.
Facebook's just there.
Emails, whatever. I don't know.
It's
a tough one, isn't it?
I was about to say it.
One.
There's one thing in the world that is more often bad than good: convenience. And that's what Facebook gives you: convenience.
Yeah, but I just don't like it. I'm glad I'm off of it, and it's done me the world of good. And it's helped me on my personal. What's the word? My personal, or I'd say recovery, to be honest. Because I've changed a lot of things in the last year. Started while I was still in that environment that I'm now out of.
But when you had Facebook, I never really saw you post too much. It was mainly just managing your football team on there.
Yeah, well, I stopped. I used to post a lot of political stuff on there. That's
that definitely
why
doesn't
you
help.
didn't notice it.
Maybe.
Because you probably, you were too immature to understand that stuff.
Probably. I fully accept that, I've only really started looking into politics the last couple of years, and that was actually a big part of my depression as well, just not understanding things, or I did understand things.
It is depressing looking at the world.
Opening
your eyes to the world.
I understood, and the thing is, I understood what was happening. I understood that I was being made a fool out of by having to earn. Look, food, water, and air are pretty much the only three things we need, and shelter, and we pay for three of those. So
paying for air soon.
They will charge us for air if they could.
BP will charge us for air.
I mean, it won't. I mean, but to be honest, there's not much to stop them from toxicating the air and making you pay for oxygen in your home.
Good, we're going to be out there now, Ricky.
but it's
Dark World podcast.
It is, but well, the world's already dark, so
it is. It's a depressing place, and it's about you having to manage it and learn how to deal with it, and that's a hard thing to do. And it takes a lot of effort upon you. You've got to want to do it as well, because that's the one thing that I didn't want to do. Like we said about before, I was not happy, but I was comfortable in being in that dark side because it was there all the time. Yeah. So it's like your comfort blanket, and it's like, I'm safe here, even though I'm depressed, but I'm safe because it's what I know. Yeah. And dealing with that head on, looking for help. But see, that's another question. That's another situation. Another thing to talk about is when you look for help, they always go on about how there's help out there. And to a certain extent, they're correct. But I've had counselling, I've seen psychotherapists, psychiatrists, I had counselling at work, I had counselling through the NHS. Yeah. I've done it all. And it was all part of the recovery process. And the start of it, I'll be honest, I was telling lies in the first one because I believed in my own little story. And then bit by bit, I've chipped away, seeing different people and broken it down. And saw a counsellor last year where it all really came out. And then I still felt at the start of this year confronting the MS, changing my life, doing my training, stop gambling because I had a problem with gambling, of which I'm doing very well, and it's confronting all of these things, and I've met someone as well who helps me through this.
Yeah.
I've got a good family base where I'm now back, and I just felt like I still needed help to a certain extent. And the one particular thing I always avoided was CBT.
Sure.
Say what it is, because I always get it wrong.
Cognitive behavioural therapy.
I say the first word wrong. But so I thought, okay, I'm in the right place. I'm in a good place, a better place. So I shouldn't say a good place, a better place. So I'll go and seek that help, because that, as I'm sure you know if you've read into it, is dealing with your behaviour and what triggers things off, what makes you go to that place, that dark place.
Your thought process.
And it tries to retrain your thought processing. I thought, this is the perfect time for me to go because I'm in a better place.
Yeah.
And when I used to go counselling, I used to deliberately listen to this one song, because music is like a drug to me. Music sends me to that place when I want to go there, which is it sounds quite sick, but sometimes I wanted to go there.
Can I ask what kind of music?
Oh, all sorts of things. It's all about the lyrics. It has to have deep, meaningful lyrics. Going as deep as artists like Leonard Cohen, which will mean absolutely sod all for most people who listen to this.
Yeah, I don't know.
There you go. There's deep stuff, meaning about life and what it all means and the dark side of it. So I would deliberately listen to this one song to set myself off, go to that trigger to then go and see the counsellor, so I could show her how I really felt. Yeah. So this time, this year, I went to be assessed for this CBT, and that was I was adamant what I wanted to do. I was positive, making the right decision to go there and say I want to do CBT, because before I always avoided it because to me CBT was actually trying to root out this other side of me which I wasn't ready to let go of. Yeah. And I went to see him, didn't listen to that music to set myself. I went in there positive, and I thought, is this going to affect how he assesses me? Because if I go in there positive, it's going to look like I don't need anything. Yeah. And lo and behold, I went in there more positive, but said that I need this because, or not that I need it, I said that I think this will be very beneficial to me. I ended up having to sell myself. When I initially went for that appointment, I went online, this wellbeing thing online, I was in a bad place at that moment. But it's taken 4 months to get to this assessment. Yeah. And I've gone there and I'm suddenly having to sell myself to this guy who, from the moment I went in, weren't having it. I can't speak for exactly, I'm not in his head, but for me, I got this vibe that he wasn't going to give me or help me with this CBT from the beginning. Right. And so there I am selling myself, saying, look, I've asked for help, and now you're telling me you're not going to give it to me because I happen to be in a better place.
So what was he saying? He was just literally saying that?
He said no. And he said that he's going to send his assessment of me to my GP. If I obviously disagree, then I can say to my GP disagree and then maybe be reassessed or whatever. But this is the point, is depression is not something that can be dealt with and assessed in half an hour or an hour. No. Right? It comes and goes. And just because you're in a good place at one moment doesn't mean you're going to be in a good place in an hour's time. No. And you can say this is a fault of the NHS or the fault of our how we deal with mental health in this country, but this is where for me it's difficult, because how else can you do it? But I do feel like sometimes you don't get the support, even though they go on about how we need to tackle mental health. And another thing, part of the mental health as well. One of my issues was gambling, right? Yeah. And I had friends who are very bad with the gambling, and they struggle every day. It's a disease. I don't want to ever say it's anything like, an illness like a cancer or something. No, but it's most definitely it's addictive, It's an addictive disease that ruins lives, and it's a silent one because you don't see it. Yeah. And like when you're watching sporting events, gambling.
Easy, is
Bet, 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 bet. That's like putting a program on for heroin addicts, and then on the break talking about where you can get your needles from.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So it's all messed up because it's all about money, and it's
Talking about living in a dark place, though,
Mm.
I do think that is all done for us. Like that is.
Yeah, you're shown what people want you to see.
Yeah, of course, and
Facebook is a prime example of that, Ricky, because do you remember that investigation where Facebook would take all of your search engines?
Yeah.
And if you were, sorry, I'm clicking the
it's all right.
If you're in a depressive state, you're reposting depressive things.
Yeah.
Things that cause trauma to your mental state. They took that information and then would put on your newsfeed stuff to match that.
Yeah.
So people who are depressed or suicidal would be given more information to make them depressed and suicidal.
Well, yeah, exactly. And they've actually taken the original algorithms were based alongside those of the Las Vegas slot machines.
Well, there you go.
That's how Facebook was initially set up to make it addictive.
Is that proven?
Yes, that is proven. They've proved that was they needed something to get people addicted because there were so many social media things popping up at that time. How do you make yours the best? Well, let's use cognitive measures. How do we get people on our product and stay on our product? And you only have to look at Facebook and the stupid games that are out there. Everybody gets to say, "Hey, I've done this today." Get likes. Oh, I got 5 likes today. I got 10 likes today. Everyone's looking for gratification and rewards from it, and that's another big part of the kind of depressing culture is we're all looking for salvation or something from somebody else on Facebook who really doesn't give a shit about you. The only people who really care about you are the people that need something from you, really, or your family who brought you into the world.
Yeah, it's
That's one big thing I had to cope with. I realised I was posting stuff on Facebook and I thought, who actually cares? No one cares.
Exactly.
No one actually cares.
Basing it on likes and things like that. I mean, who gives a damn if someone likes a post you put up?
Even me starting my podcast off and writing my blog.
Yeah, I know it's so hypocritical because of what you're doing. It's hypocritical, but
it is.
This is what.
But the people who will listen are the people who are looking for help, and hopefully listening to this, they'll find something to relate to, because that was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
When I started going through depression, my mate gave me a book from work, and he went through it, and he was deaf. So he deaf from like the age of 5. So he gave me this book, and I thought nothing of it. I took it, I accepted it, because obviously I accepted the gift, and I just put it on the side of my bed, and it sat there for ages. And that was a book about CBT. I refused to believe that I was depressed. I just thought it was the work, it was stress. And it wasn't until I started coming up in hives from top to bottom and I realised something's wrong here. But I still didn't want to admit that I was depressed. I didn't want to go to the doctors. I didn't want that on my health.
I did that for years.
On my health record, because the minute it was on my health record, I thought, what could this stop me from doing?
Yeah.
If I ever wanted to become a pilot, which I'm probably not, but if I ever did want to do something like that, could they stop me from coming in? Could they stop me from going to America and getting a visa because I'm depressed? I don't know what this could stop, so I refused, and I self-educated myself.
Yeah, there's still this stigmatism to mental health, even though they try to make out they're trying to tackle it. But there still is.
Because you are effectively broken.
Broken is the word, yeah. That's one word I always used, that I was broken. And you like what you said, you always think you're looking for someone or something to fix you. But unfortunately, that's where the key is for anyone who is listening, who's going through this stuff. The only way to deal with this is to confront it and deal with it
yourself.
There are people that guide you through and the people you meet that will help along the way. But it's when you're ready and you decide you don't want that anymore and you want to change, you want to feel better, you don't want to feel that depression anymore. It's only then you can confront it. But unfortunately, it's like a lot of the things we do speak of here, that we've spoken of on this today, it is depressing. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
But then the best way to get over it, especially for me, was to educate myself on this. And even like, so I spoke to John before I come on the podcast with you, And he's just said, Rick, do you know what? The thing is, I did actually research it, and I actually learned a couple of things. And it's just that, just by meeting somebody else and talking to someone else about their issues or their experience, you just learn something else. And that's what all of us need to do, really, is just keep developing our skills, because after school, a lot of us just stop.
Well, that's, again, it's like what we were talking about right at the beginning, about when I told you about confronting my MS.
Yeah.
In going to that group, I've made friends, I've met someone very special to me, and in all of that, all that happening, it's made me confront what I've got. And it's made me read up and made me, like, in particular, reading this book that my friend gave me about MS. You're suddenly reading this and thinking, oh my God, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
And, oh, there might be reasons as to why I'm behaving the way I am. Because I didn't really think about when, I told you about having episodes of MS. When you have an episode, I try and basically explain what MS, your body is. It's your own body attacking itself.
Yeah.
Basically, your nerves are wrapped with this, wrapped with a thing called a myelin sheath, right? And our bodies think that that's an invader, like a foreign object in our body. So our body attacks these protective nerve covers, whatever.
Sure.
Exactly what it's called. And that's what our body does. And in reading this book, obviously, it's also bringing to light that when we have an episode, and this is what happens with when you digress with MS and you get worse, is you have the episode and you have scars. Even if you recover from that particular episode, let's just say my arm, I had my left arm as a problem. I recovered fully and I got full use, I don't feel anything.
Sure.
But there might be a day where it doesn't recover fully. And that's because I'm scarred underneath.
Physically
scarred. Yeah, it's called real scars. It's like white blood cells called scars.
Sure, yeah.
And I had one in my brain, one of these patches. And that can cause all sorts of things. It can cause me to drop things. It can cause my behaviours. It can cause me to be depressed about little things.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about it. I didn't really think that my MS could possibly really be causing a lot of the mental problems I'm having. I didn't really think about it, but it sort of made you feel a little bit better about yourself, because you think, oh, maybe it's not just this thing in me.
Yeah.
It's something I can't help. And like, even with people close to you, they don't understand it. And if I don't understand it, how can I make them understand it?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
It must have been hard as well, because it's more common in women, isn't it?
Yeah, so they say, but I think that those statistics are getting closer and closer or whatever.
Well,
but yeah,
I would have said it makes sense, because I'm only aware of one person with MS, and that's you.
Mm. I mean, I don't know if you know, but when a woman's pregnant,
you're a bit of a woman, so
they don't know why this is yet, but yeah. When a woman's pregnant, her MS ceases to develop.
Can it be passed on?
No, it's not a hereditary thing.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, if it runs, I don't know anyone in my family that had it.
It's just too random.
That could be though, because my dad's from Cyprus. It could be because maybe the records weren't there, or people potentially could have died before it developed, or someone could have had it and never known.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't really know, but it's not something that's guaranteed to be passed down. But obviously, the chances would increase if both your parents had MS.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a given there. But
would that put you off of having children?
Well, I always said I didn't want kids, and then I changed my mind when my best friend had a daughter, and then my sister had her 2 boys. And that was another part of the reason why relationships break down.
Yeah.
Because you grow, you change, your opinions and your wants and needs change.
Yeah.
And I did change my mind. I originally did think, so obviously this is quite funny, because I obviously did think of the MS, because I did use that as an excuse to not have children. I said, I don't want to have kids because I don't want them to watch me die in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I remember saying those words before, Whether I actually believe that, I'm not sure. But now, yeah, definitely things have changed. I wouldn't write it off. It's definitely something I've thought about a lot, and something I feel like if I didn't, I would regret. So, yeah, things change. I think that's the most important thing. Things do change.
Yeah. Should we move on to maybe a more positive subject of the football team?
Well, yeah, but no, you skied that penalty. So this,
Well, I'm sure it'll come back to
that's
negativity.
on the list of my worst days of my life.
Yeah, well...
Ricky apparently is going to put the picture of him taking the penalty that he missed in the cup final, intermediate cup final, Middlesex 2014.
I'll put the
shocking.
The regretful picture on there. So anyway, you did manage the team for, it was over 10 years.
It's funny you say that because you could link it with this. I started managing the team when I first had that episode.
Oh, right.
2005 is when I took over. Well, the year after 2006, I took over Pims. So Pims became like everything to me.
Yeah.
I was absolutely obsessed with this football team. And I mean, I took it to extremes, as you know, because you played for me. I did everything. All the paperwork, website, everything. Training, manager.
Statistics.
Everything. I did everything in it. And then maybe that was part of my distraction.
Yeah.
Because I took it deadly seriously. And I would get very upset when people didn't take it as seriously as me.
You did, yeah.
And that's why it doesn't exist anymore, because I could never find anyone who could take it as seriously as me, because I couldn't keep doing it. It just got too much in the end. But yeah, that started in 2006.
I can definitely relate to that, because obviously I started up my team off the back of your team, because I obviously wasn't one of the best players. I didn't get as much game time as others, so I thought, do you know what, I can make my own team here. I know I'm not going to play at the same standard as what Pim's played at, but if ever I get to that standard, that's my achievement, reaching the same standard that Alexis' team played at. So I made my own team, and I think I had the same difficulties as you, really, and that might have even been my escape, because that was definitely around the sort of time I was depressed, and it was when I broke my leg that things really hit hard, because I was in bed and I couldn't do anything. But I know I was definitely depressed before I broke my leg, so I can't blame that.
It took everything away, isn't it?
Yeah.
For that 1 hour and a half or 2 hours of training or whatever, you could take it all away. You forget about everything else.
I just found as well, after about the third year of doing it, I would go have conversations. My dating was horrific. I couldn't talk about anything other than football. But it's the truth. Literally, my life was football. And no,
I was worse than you. So
yeah, honestly, I mean, I didn't have a clipboard like you did.
Yeah, clipboard wanker was my nickname.
I did stats. I did the websites. I basically copied you as a role model too.
I'm like Ricky's role model. He looks at me. He's looking at me now, smiling and he's so happy. Depression's out the window.
With the football team, I was like, the way Pims is exactly how I want my team, and that's how. And I succeeded at that for the 2 years that I had a team. I tried to go again the third season, but it was just like you said, people just don't take it as serious as you wanted to take it, and it's just a headache at the end of the day.
I think I had one advantage over you. I never played.
That, and you're older.
And I ruled everything.
Yeah. I remember having conversations with people when obviously I was 21, 22 when I was running the team, and I'd be telling a 30-year-old off for leaving his position.
It doesn't work.
And I'd be like, you can't leave that position, you were caught out. I weren't caught out. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I only ever had...
You're a 21-year-old kid, how can you tell me this?
I had a handful of players who were older than me play for us.
Yeah.
But when I started, there was only one player older than me, and I'd known him all my life.
So you had that initial respect.
Yeah.
Whereas when I had my players come in, a lot of the first year were quite a lot of school friends, so they could only ever see me as a school friend. They could never see me as a manager.
Yeah, well, that's with Pims. I took over. It was one of my best friend's younger brother's team. So therefore, I was older than all of them.
Yeah.
And then I brought in the players that I knew who were my age, or I said that one person older, or just a little bit younger than me. So yeah, you didn't have that. That made it easier because I could root out all the people that wouldn't listen.
Sure.
So I still had that level of respect, which in the end went because I became older and everyone was too far away in age from me because they were too young.
Yeah.
So it became the other way around, and I just lost interest in it in the end after you missed that penalty.
But we'll get to the penalty. We'll tell the whole story in a minute. But it was a successful team, and probably how would you say it was some of the best years of your life running it?
Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But do you know what? It was so stressful as well because I gave everything to it.
I enjoyed the stress when I did mine, though.
When we lost, I was devastated for a week.
The same.
I couldn't deal with it. I did deal with it, but yeah, I was devastated when we'd lose a game.
And this might be my immaturity as well, but being young, but I would take it out on the players and be like,
well, you would in the end, yeah.
We've lost this game. I've put so much effort into this week, and you lot want to get drunk and turn up on a Sunday steaming. And like I'd be up like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, waiting for the text to come in. As soon as the text come in, I start scribbling teams. The team would change at least 7 times, and then I'd be calling my captain up, calling my vice captain, calling my John who did the finance for me. Guys, what do you think of this? Well, right, yeah, get all those opinions, make a solid team. Still be changing that at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday.
They're letting you down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you'd get a text message at 4 in the morning. Rick, my leg,
ill.
Yeah, my leg's really hurting. Yeah, sure.
4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Something to do with beer or anything. But do you know what? I'll ask you this at the end. But for me, I took over 2006, 2007. Rooted out all the people straight away that were bad for the team. Yeah. Brought in my own players. And the first year we finished 3rd, and I gave a team that were rubbish a bit of a personality. Yeah. And we finished 3rd in the first year, from going from bottom of all divisions to 3rd in my first season. Yeah, it's achievement. And the second year we won the double. And for me, out of all of it, 12 trophies, 13 trophies we won after that in 12 years. That for me was still my favourite team. Pinnacle of success. The first team that came from nothing to win 2 trophies. Yeah. It meant more than anything. Yeah. And we did have good times after that season. I know we joke about the season when you missed the penalty, but that was probably the best season after that. Should we come on to that, because we've mentioned it so much now, we've got to talk about the story. So 2013, you know the dates more 14. Than me. I was 20, I know that much. Yeah. Yeah, you came down because of Gustavo, didn't you? Yeah, Gustavo brought me. Had a fantastic pre-season trials. Scored with. I don't know. Yeah. In fact, I just signed you because I don't know. Didn't have enough players. I don't know what Gustavo said to you, but I turned up for that friendly game which you was doing trials for, and you listed the team sheet out, stuck me on the wing, and went, so Ricky's taking all set pieces. And I thought, fucking, I've never had this responsibility in my life. Yeah, jeez, never had terrible managerial decision. Never had any of these responsibilities in my life. But I thought, do you know what? Didn't you Let's have it. And I scored within 50 seconds. It was under a minute. Yeah, the pace, wasn't it? Yeah, so I put the ball. She did her pace. I think we took scent. She didn't take the ball with him. that was the second opportunity. So we took scent, and and the ball went back to Ali, and he just basically saw me. I just was running, and he just put the ball over the top, and I just kind of ran behind the defence, slightly past the keeper. And that was it. Yeah, that was it. I know what I'm like. Sign him up. That made an impression. He's got a goal. Sign him up. It was a really good game. I had that game. I can't remember who it was. But when we started, and I played all of those pre-season games, and I have to say you did knock my confidence, because when it got to the first league game and I'd played all of those games, almost 90 minutes of all of them, I got to the first game of the season thinking, yes, I'm going to get picked, and I didn't get picked, and I don't even think I came on. Is that the first game? Playing field? I can't remember where the pitch would be. We probably won it because we won almost all the games. Yeah, I do remember. But for me, I was like, and then as the season went on, I was like, I know why, because I'm nowhere near the best player. Like, where were all these players during pre-season? Yeah, well, that's you know that now. You've been a manager. That's what happens. Yeah.
And throughout the
But you
season,
still played your part.
I did, and I scored a couple of goals. I think I scored a crucial goal for one of the league games as well.
You scored in that, probably the best Pim's performance ever. Without, I think it's undoubted this was the best performance ever. Was when we played Barnes Albion away and we won 9-3. That's undoubtedly the best football we've ever played. And I know you came on and scored 2, I think.
Yes. Oh yeah. I do remember that. I know we could.
This other player played that day, Abel, and everyone completely grilled.
I think it was Abel,
yeah.
But that was what the team was like. Actually, they were
clicky.
They were a clique, and I found it really hard to get involved in that team. I really found it hard to find friends in that, but I carried on, persevered.
The manager.
I liked you as a manager. I hadn't had a good manager since I was 12. And my first manager was Mick, and he now coaches the Tottenham Women's. Fantastic manager. When I couldn't even kick a ball at the age of 12, I was shocking. But he accepted me because I had willingness and I had fitness. And he just took me and he trained me to become a certain player. When I played for you managing, I learnt certain tricks and skills and actually kind of learnt the whole first touch thing. But the players, they were so far advanced of me.
Yeah, that's going to happen though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially in football teams. Is the best football teams, you either slot in straight away or you struggle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to be on that certain level.
You need to be their level of skill for them to kind of accept you into their crowd. So coming up, played the whole season. We've got to the final of was it the County Cup? Was that what it was?
Yeah, the County Cup came first. We still had the league to wrap up and the other cup as well, I think.
Which we won both of those.
Yeah, we won both of those, which is quite an achievement after losing the cup final. The biggest, because to me that was the biggest one we lost.
I remember your speech, and that's why.
That was what it was all about. I wanted to get to that cup final and win it. That was goal number 1, and goal number 2 was to get to the Premiership. When I first started within 5 years, and I did it in 4, so. This was the next goal to win that competition. Yeah. So we got to the final. It was massive, you know. Just unfortunate. We should have won it in 90 minutes, but there you go. All the other cup finals I've been to, I knew we'd win. And this particular one, it all went wrong from the moment. We all met up at the snooker club, and we got on the coach. Remember, I ordered a coach, big coach. Yeah. I forgot my coat. Yeah. I knew we'd lose.
We was wearing suits as well.
Yeah, and I forgot my football coat with Pim's Brook on the back.
And that was it.
And I thought, this is fucked up. Something's gone wrong now. And I actually thought about telling the coach driver to turn back to get my coat. I should have done it. But you know, it's little things sometimes just throw you off your game. Yeah. And then I remember that as we were talking, Aaron was injured. And he said, I shouldn't start him, and he was one of the first names on the team sheet. And then Luke Nemerin didn't turn up, who was the number 1 keeper. So he played in the thing is, and no disrespect to Shawman, because Shawman was still young then as well, and Nemerin was number 1 if he was available. And we would have won if Nemerin turned up, because Nemerin would have saved penalties. That was his forte.
You can't say that because for 90 minutes.
For a fact, I knew if Nemerin played, we were going to win that cup final.
But I mean, for 90 minutes, neither team scored.
Yeah, both scored in extra time, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is what I mean, little things. And Chris Cook, I think, was injured as well. So all these little things were just adding up. We still had a very good team though.
Yeah, we had a strong team. I was on the bench.
It wasn't the team that I wrote up originally.
Yeah, and when it's not your team that you're like, that's going to win us the game, that puts you off massively. Yeah. But yeah, I just remember you kind of just went. You had the option. You had me or
I should have bought Jenkins on.
Jenkins.
That's what I should have done. But I know why I bought you on. Everyone always says that I should have bought Jenkins on, but I bought you on solely to go in behind them. Yeah. Because of the pace.
Which, if I had been given 10 minutes before, may have had opportunities to do so.
Yeah, because see, Ryan had a chance when he went in behind.
Yeah.
He drilled it straight at the goal with his legs. And what really annoyed me about that game is even in the penalty shootout, the goalie never dived. He never dived once.
No.
You just had to put it in the corner.
And that's what actually somebody said. We get to the penalty shootout. We're all on the line. Everybody's taken one. Both teams have scored all the way up until the point. I think there's 4 players left. There was me. I think there was another midfielder. I'm sure there was. There was the goalkeeper and 2 defenders. The midfielder outright said no. So I said, well, I'm the midfielder. If anyone's going to score, it's going to be a midfielder over a defender, isn't it?
Lewis Holgard, was it? I thought he took one.
No, he did take one. Maybe I'm thinking of Courtney as a midfielder.
Yeah.
Because he played defensive mid a few times, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I just went, well, look, if he's not going to take...
Did Jamal play in the final?
No. I can't remember the full team sheet. I don't think he did.
Could find it out. But yeah.
It's too long.
Pause it then. Where were we?
Jamal.
Jamal.
Yeah.
What were we saying?
We were saying he came on as a sub.
Messed up that day. I mean, Aaron said he was injured. Jamal came on as a sub, which means he was probably had problems with his hamstrings. He always had problems with his hamstrings.
Yeah.
Colin came on as a sub, and he didn't play every week. You came on as a sub, obviously. So no, it just the whole day. I still think we should have won. We should have won in normal time.
Definitely.
We should have had a penalty right at the end when Ali was basically chopped down in the box and the ref just played on.
Yeah.
It was a penalty all day long. But these things happen in football. It was when we recovered after that to win the league. We still had 4 league games after that.
Yep.
And we drew the game after that cup final. We drew 3-3 to a team we should have beaten. But then we won our last 3. With obviously the legendary moment when Knights scored the winner.
Oh yeah.
To win us the league.
And it was an
absolute player who's
rocket.
never even had a shot scored the goal from the edge of the box. I mean, that was... See, they're the things, they're special moments that... I know people say some people don't understand it, like especially people who don't really like football.
Yeah.
But that was magic moments. I mean, like proper major whole year.
Yeah.
Amazing times.
I've gone off of the whole watching and dedicating time to watching a team every single week.
That's because he supports Arsenal, so...
That might be a problem.
What's the date today? It's the
30th.
Yeah, last night. What happened last night, Ricky?
Well, they lost 4-1 to Chelsea.
And what's happening on Saturday, Ricky?
But do you know what? I actually wasn't going to watch that game because I thought...
What's happening on Saturday, Ricky?
Saturday is Tottenham versus Liverpool. I actually don't even know who's playing these. I recorded one of these podcasts with Jay, and we had Liverpool Barcelona in the background, and I didn't even know who was playing in Champions League.
This is what all Arsenal fans are doing now.
Well,
distancing themselves.
It's not even Arsenal really. It's just my kind of opinion on football, and not even just football, stadium sports, and all of that. Like you mentioned before, with the whole gambling society, it's all there to brain fuck you, and it's just what I've gone against now. But
it's all about money, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can't take away those special moments when people do score.
That was so brilliant, those years at Pims.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it again though. I honestly don't see myself doing it again.
No, I would. The only thing I would do is a young team. So at the moment I've gone back to being a scout leader to kind of give whatever information, knowledge I have, which isn't much, but give it to the next generation. I feel like that's my kind of charity or my good deed.
When did you do that?
Monday evenings.
Interesting.
So I've gone back there because I was a scout myself when I was younger, and it's good. It's really good fun.
So in Cubs, I never joined the Scouts.
Yeah, Cubs is the one before. Yeah, so I went all the way through from Beavers, Cubs, Scouts, and I got to that age where I was about 15, 16, because you finish at that age, and people are just... You're mocked through school anyway, you know. The minute you say, "Oh yeah, I'm in Scouts," they're like, "Oh, have you got a favourite teddy bear?" And you sing songs around a campfire as well.
I was one of those people.
Yeah,
that told you that.
That mocked. Yeah, and it really puts you off. And by the time I got to 15, 16, such a attitude, especially with the people I was hanging out with, and games, movies, that sort of influence, I just basically spat in their face of everything they had taught me. I kind of just walked away. It wasn't until I've had my kind of depressive era or years that I look back and I think what a twat I was, really. From the age of 15 growing up to 22, or I realised how I progressively became more of an arsehole. And a lot of that is down to money as well, because I started working when I was 15 as well.
Yeah, you started work early actually.
Yeah.
That's a topic for another day, that is.
Yeah.
I went to university and it was a waste of time, but there we go.
I know university is a waste of time. And we actually talk about that.
Unless you obviously go to do something in particular.
One of these fake jobs.
No,
working on
if you want to be a doctor, you have to go to university.
Great.
Something like that. But
Do you though? Do you have to go to university to be a doctor?
Because you have to get the qualification.
Teach someone that for
But
free.
if you want to, how many people do you know that went to uni and now work in administration?
Oh yeah, well that's the thing.
Or sales. Go back to Pims. Tell me who give me your top 5 players. Come on. Because you were only there for 2 years. Well, you came back again, didn't you?
Well, myself at the
You
time.
don't know a lot of the legends
Oh,
before you.
And remember when I came back after I broke my leg and I played that one game and I hit the crossbar? That was an absolute crazy shot. Steven Gerrard, 40 yards out, that was.
40 yards. It's more like 4 yards.
No, it wasn't.
No goalkeeper, 4 yards.
I did miss from 4 yards in that game as well. But yeah, I could have had a hat-trick that game. I just wasn't, my leg still wasn't fully repaired. This was when I brought my friend over, Charlie.
Oh, so that was the last year then?
Yeah.
Or the second from last year. Because I don't know if you know, I had an under-18s from last year. They were the last year of Pims.
Yeah, because I played you. I came over because I think you was thinking of
Cheshunt School.
Yeah, you was going to get me involved. No, Gough School.
Gough School, sorry. Yeah.
You was going to get me involved in something, but things changed.
But
top 5 players.
I mean, because you don't know a lot of the players that came before you.
No.
But you played with probably people I would list in the top.
Yeah.
There was some great players.
I was just thinking who I don't know why I started with the people who most definitely wouldn't get listed in the top 5.
Who's that then?
Fucking Terry.
I'm not going to go down that route.
Yeah.
That was.
No, let's move on from that one.
But
I think
no. All right.
Aaron,
give him his dues. I mean, I knew Terry from a young age. Give him his dues. We did go to another level when he played.
Sure, I'm sure you did.
But he also, in my personal opinion, was a bit of the problem at the end of it. But he helped us get over the line, and we won. We were very successful. I mean, we had our issues at the end.
He was just very negative.
Yeah,
that's what I found.
But I won't knock him because he is the bloke with the most captain's appearances, and we won a lot of trophies when he was there. So don't knock the achievement, definitely.
Yeah,
that's something else.
I was just on the receiving end of his rage, I guess, a lot of the time. So.
Yeah, but
don't blame him.
So who did you enjoy playing with the most, or who do you think was the best player? Because I personally think you played with the group of best players that I've got written down in front of me.
Yeah,
players that were massive to the club.
Obviously, the top 2 straight away are Ali and Simon.
Yeah, I think between them, I mean, for me, undoubtedly the best Pims player of all time is Simon.
Really, over
Ali. He holds pretty much every record.
But records aren't everything.
Yeah, but
Peter Crouch has good records.
He saved us.
He's useless.
How many goals Simon scored?
Yeah.
Last minute winners.
And unbelievable goals as well.
Yeah, undoubtedly. You can't knock that. I mean, sort of, in the end, it's 165 goals.
But then you need to think, would he have scored those goals? Would he have had those opportunities without Ali in the midfield? Because he did create so much.
Don't forget, played before Ali, and he was top scorer in his first season as a left 4-4-2 winger. So he's came in. I was talking about this the other day with another player that played for us, Flanagan, who would have been one of the greats if he actually played more than 20 games. Constant injuries and stuff, but he's a great player. When Simon first came in, I looked, because he came in the group. It was the group of Joel, Jay Suri, Aaron, Andreas and Simon. And I looked at Simon and I thought, oh shit, because he was quite a skinny lad.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh fucking hell, he's going to be shit. And first training session, he bagged a couple of goals. I thought, oh, fair enough, I'll give him a go. And then I don't think he scored for a few games, and then all of a sudden just scored every week.
Yeah.
1 week after goal, stunning goals, 20 yards, 30 yards, free kicks, headers, left foot. Only thing he didn't do was right foot.
Yeah.
I think he got a couple with his right foot.
I do remember one game, and
Gifted, yeah.
I think I was
Striker.
yeah.
Or finisher.
I think I was about, I don't know, 6 yards out, a bit further maybe, and I've absolutely hit this ball top bins, should have gone in. Goalkeeper somehow got a fist to it, or a hand to it, sorry. Knocked it back out, and guess who sweeps it up? Simon puts it away. And I'm just like, literally, that couldn't have been any shot better than what I just did. And Simon sweeps it up.
Yeah,
that's
what he was.
Just fucking did it every game.
Yeah, it's a great player.
As for defender, I think the best defender I played was probably Ricardo.
Yeah, that's a good point in there, Ricardo. You can't argue with that. He's a great defender. We had some very good defenders. I mean, Dave played a lot in defence.
I only ever really saw him as striker.
Yeah, when you came in, he was playing up front, but he played everywhere for us. And he was centre back when we won our first double.
Yeah, I really liked Ryan, and I loved playing.
Oh yeah, Ryan as well. Yeah.
I loved playing on opposite wings with Ryan because the pace between the two of us was incredible. But he was just injured so often.
Well, funny enough, that's a good point to bring up about Ryan. He was part of that group that I just said. Simon, Ryan, Andreas, Joe Suri, Joel. They came as a group, and they came in the season after we won the double. The following season, after the season we won the double, the one after that, I changed the team, made it more aggressive, and this group of players were a particularly aggressive bunch.
Yeah.
And they took us up a notch to compete with the nastiness of Sunday League. But unfortunately, there was a lot of friction there because they were a proper clique.
Yeah.
And Aaron is a fine example for me. I'm actually very good friends with Aaron now. I consider him as a friend. When at one point he hated me.
Yeah.
Because I had to get rid of him at one point because the team became sort of like a little bit poisonous because it became so separated.
Right.
And I've spoken to him many times about this, so I can openly say this because we've had discussions about this. I wanted to protect what I had before because, as I told you at the start of this, to me the best thing before we started recording, to me the one I always remember is the first double, which a lot of people say they remember the first trophy. And I sort of wanted to preserve that a bit.
Yeah.
But unfortunately that wasn't enough to go to the next level.
No.
So I split the team up. Aaron left with Joel, Jay Suri, and they all sort of like dropped out. But Simon and Ryan stayed. Ryan was injured, like badly injured. So I was surprised when he took a whole season out and come back to pre-season. I was like, Jesus, Ryan, you're here, because he was unbelievable when he signed.
Yeah.
He was so fast, and then he got a knee injury that just put him way back.
Yeah.
But when he came back, I was like, wow, I can't believe he's turned up. And the fact that Simon kept coming back, because I think he got friendly with Chris Cook, who's another player to mention, because he played, I think he's second or third in the top appearances.
Yeah.
And he was there from the double season, the first double. So that sort of like, that messed up the team for a couple of years. And that's when I redone everything and we moved here to this league. Obviously, which is the year before you came in.
Yeah.
And that's when Ali joined us as well, who undoubtedly is probably the most gifted player that's played for us. I mean, we've had other players come and go. That whole reshaping of the team brought back that feeling of family kind of thing. And you came into it a year after.
Yeah.
So you sampled a little bit of it. But as I said, you came into something that was already set.
Yeah, it was definitely.
It was hard for you to come in. But yeah, I mean, we had some really good times. We won a lot of silverware.
Yeah.
Loved it. I miss it, but I think by the end, because I took an under-18s team in the end, took the first team slot. Some good players, but they're very young, and I couldn't relate to that anymore. And that was the end of it, really. I just don't think it would happen again, but never say never, I guess.
Yeah.
And other players probably we haven't mentioned. Dave, of course. We mentioned Dave a little bit.
So I was in my mind.
Jenkins as well.
In my mind, I was those two and Aaron. I was kind of like, who would be my final?
Oh yeah, that was the thing I was going to say about Aaron. Obviously, after that period when I got rid of Aaron and his friends.
Yeah.
I met up with them when we were desperate because we were near the bottom and I just wanted to bring some players on metal and I apologised for my part in it. And Aaron's the one that actually came back properly because he's probably one of the only people that loved Pims just as much, if not more than me.
Yeah.
He was obsessed with Pims.
Yeah.
And he still told me he still goes to the website sometimes, which unfortunately is not going to be there much longer because they've swapped club websites.
That's true.
But yeah, he came back, and to be fair, that was probably one of the most... You'd call it a romantic story in football because he was an outcast and he came back and it accumulated in him in the end becoming clubman of the season, which is almost insane. And he was a big part, obviously, of winning all those doubles, 3 doubles in a row, which could have been a treble in there. You sidestepped the penalty you missed, by the way, I noticed. Didn't really talk about how it's still in orbit.
When I stepped up to this penalty, I've never experienced the fear that was going through me. My legs were like jelly, and it's so hard to explain. My legs were wobbling when I stood up to this penalty. The goal looked so much further away than any other penalty I'd taken before. When I take penalties with my friends, when I have no pressure, I don't do run-ups. I don't do any of that. I just put the ball on the spot and hit it, and it goes in. The minute that I had, this is a proper penalty, I also take penalties with my left foot. I don't know why. I've just never been good at scoring penalties with my right foot. But I knew if I walked up to that penalty spot with a left foot and I miss it, then they're going to be like, why did you take that on your weaker foot? So I went against everything that I normally did. And I took a run up with my right foot, and I believe the ball is still in orbit. You can probably see it in a few of NASA's Instagram pictures.
Oh, disaster. But, these things.
But back to the positives of who the best players were.
Swerve.
So, no, there wasn't much swerve. It kind of just went up. I think Jamal is definitely in my top 5.
Jamal, we didn't mention Jamal.
No, and then I was iffing and butting between Jenkins, Dave and Aaron.
Well, there's other players that you wouldn't know as well. I mean, before you came, we had players called Dan Thorpe. He was the first playmaking midfielder we had. Just as good as Ali, if not sometimes better, because he scored more goals. But he was very injury prone. We had a player called Gary Tinton, very good winger, but he only played 1 year under me. Got to mention Fricker. Everybody loves Fricker.
Yeah. There was, because he used to turn up to games, and obviously he didn't even play for our team at this point, but he used to turn up to the pub after, and there was always like, is Fricker coming on? Fricker's coming later.
I love Fricker.
I had no idea who this Fricker was, but apparently played for the team once upon a time.
Yeah, everyone loved Fricker.
But he was an interesting guy, to be fair.
And as we said before, Knights, he's got to be mentioned because of that goal. It's probably the most amazing, important goal for Pims.
Yeah.
I mean, lost so many players have come and gone.
I can imagine for you. Obviously Gustavo, I don't think we mentioned. He played quite a lot in that season I played.
Yeah. That was when he was normal.
Who was the lad who came from South London?
South London.
I'm sure it was South London. No, it wasn't Jamal. Richards.
Oh, Richard Robinson. I can't believe he's getting mentioned. Everyone loved Rich, though, to be fair.
He was there every game. And I remember we went for a curry for our end of season meal. He had never had an Indian before, so he ordered chicken nuggets.
Yeah, he asked for ketchup in his numbers. Yeah. I've got to mention my couple of mates as well. My mate Pav. He was my assistant manager for the first double when he came in and out. You know Pav, didn't you? Yeah. And my mate Beef, he was most appearances for years until Dave took him over. Left back, left winger first, left back second. Yeah, some great players. If we had them all at the same time, man, we would have been. Well, we would have been quality, but these things happen.
Well, I wouldn't know because I would have been on the reserves of the reserves. So
yeah, you would have been in the fourths. So.
Do you remember the first aider?
First aider?
Yeah, it was some bloke who was at your workplace and decided to he wanted to help out, so you brought him over one time.
Oh, God, Adrian. Jesus Christ.
Good intentions, but...
Move on. Shocking.
Just remember, you introduced him as a first aider. Someone went down, and he wasn't even watching the game, so it was one of the players that had to run off the pitch to get a bottle of water, that magic water that gets all the players back up.
Absolutely. Yeah, various other players I probably will regret not saying. Some of them I haven't mentioned, probably.
It's hard though, because even for the 3 seasons that I ran my team, I don't think I could name every single player that I had play for me.
Well, that's the one difference that I've got over you, innit? I could look on my files and I could tell you all the names of the players.
Yeah.
I could tell you how many played for us, actually.
I did have everything on file, but I deleted everything after the team collapsed. That was part of my letting go, was just delete everything.
Oh, I'd never do that, man.
And move on.
Never do that.
Yeah, I had to. That's the way I felt so strongly about moving on from it.
We had 206 players play for us over the years. 206 players. Oh yeah, there's a player called James Walker that played for us. Best header of a ball I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I remember in a pre-season game, I thought he broke the net. He done a diving header from a corner and smashed the crossbar. I thought the goal was going to fall down. Courtney, brilliant player. Shawman.
We're going to go through 206 names.
No, yeah. So many good players. Good old mate Rory went on to play, I think, semi-professional in the Philippines.
Oh, really?
And played for the national team,
I think
6-a-side or something.
Well, when I'm in the Philippines...
You met him in one game. He came
sure
back for
I
one
did.
game. Yeah.
Well, when I'm in the Philippines, if he's still out there, maybe I can do a podcast with him.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea about Pims, yeah. Because he brought a lot of players down, actually. He's one of those popular guys.
I mean, I was thinking more about the UK to the Philippines playing football. But yeah, sure, Pims can get a mention.
Yeah, you should, definitely. Yeah, some great players, man. Great times, great fun.
Yeah, I do. I look back with my own team, and I, like you said, there were goals that were scored, defensive moments, things like that. Things that you practiced in training and they did on the pitch. I've got a video of like a little bit of 1-2 play, and it's brilliant. Just unfortunately, the end. I mean, I suppose that's most things come to an end because they do go bad.
Yeah,
and you just have to learn to let go.
People move on. People grow up, families. People get old. Unfortunately,
People do get old. Yeah.
I mean, if these players played now, I mean, Dave he'll be 40 next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which means Rob Turner's already 40. Probably one of the fittest players in the team.
Yeah.
But he used to kick people by accident. But yeah. Yeah, all good. It was a good time, mate. It was good times. There we go.
Well, I think let's leave it on a positive. We did a lot of negative at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Turned the lights on in the middle, and
yeah, I was getting a bit worried actually. That's why I turned the lights on. You never know what Ricky's up to.
Well, we had all of the rape jokes before we started.
Oh, Ricky, you're gonna have to dub that one out. Terrible. You have to take it to the low levels, don't you?
Anyway, last thing. Thanks for coming on, Alexis.
No worries. Always put the money in the account.
I tell you what, actually, there is one thing I'd like to ask before.
Oh yeah, I've just got to be a shout out to Ricky's sister because I asked Ricky to get me a cheese and tomato pizza with olives, and he's claiming that Domino's don't do olives. And that Ricky's sister, did she pick the olives?
No, so we had a pot of green and black olives in the fridge. So I called her up and said, "Can you pick all the black olives out for Alexis?"
I like green olives.
Oh, the fuck! Like, you never get green olives on a pizza.
That is true, but anyway. Yeah,
Well, to finish, I normally ask the guests, like, was there something in particular about the podcast that you wanted to just mention, or before we started, was there anything you kind of wanted to say, get out there, like, I don't know, a quote or just something on your mind? I mean, I know we spoke about a lot of it.
What, from me?
Yeah.
No, I suppose just everything we spoke about. I just said I think the most important thing to realise is you can change anything whenever you want to. And if you're in a bad place, there is light at the end of the tunnel. You've just got to look. Just got to open your eyes. Got to make changes. That's that.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you next week.